Yes, very excited to have people from all over the world. Again, I'm John Sade from Washington, D.C., and I just wanted to welcome. It's actually my honor to welcome some very special speakers we have this morning. I wanted to mention first that actually Ilker Topku, Dr. Ilker Topku, has written us a note. He will not be able to make it because of last-minute family situation, but we will be in good hands, I'm sure. The presentation for this plenary session will be on HP in practice to promote collective decision-making, which is going to be a very interesting topic. And I wanted to introduce two professors. First, Dr. Oğuz Babüroğlu holds the Arama Chair of Action Research at Sabancı University in Istanbul, Turkey, and is the founding manager of Arama Participatory Management Consulting since 1995, and they're also a sponsor for this conference, so we thank him for that. He received his PhD in 1987 at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania in Social System Sciences. As a lecturer, Dr. Babüroğlu has served in 7 different universities and research institutes in different countries of the world. He specializes in transforming large-scale systems toward new generation models within the action research perspective and is published in the leading journals within this line of inquiry. His publications have appeared in journals such as the Journal of Action Research, Human Relations, Systems Practice and Action Research, and Organization Studies, largely on topics within the Emory-Trist perspective. Since the 1980s, he has conducted many participatory methodologies in national and at the international level. He has worked with organizations over 1,200 action research projects, ranging from large corporations to civil society institutions, governmental agencies, and municipalities, and has helped design 3 universities from the ground up, and has set up about 15 corporate academies in Turkey, as well as in Europe, the United States, Russia, and the Middle East. So welcome, Dr. Babüroğlu. And I would also
pretty long to me. We are already late a little bit in terms of starting, but I must give a little more background just to show my kinship to, at least social kinship to Professor Sati. And the AHP community. I went to University of Sussex and studied applied sciences and operational research, where I became quite familiar with different kinds of methodologies, work with Pat Rivett there. And then I went to University of Lancaster and worked with Alan Mercer for a year, where I met Stafford Beer, who said I had to go to Wharton, to the Social System Sciences program that was set up by Russell Ackoff and Eric Trist at the time, which is, I think, round about the time that Russ Ackoff delivered his speech, "The Future of Operations Research is Past." I was a student in the PhD program at Wharton in 1978, where I took a course from Tom Sati and spent a wonderful semester with him, looking into how to make decision-making transparent and numerical, which was quite a joy. So once I came back to Turkey, I worked in the US for 8 years. I don't want to give, there's enough background given there. So just the connection back to my home country, where I set up a company at the time, which was really a spin-off from the university, and at the time there are many private universities in Turkey, and still are, and new ones are being founded every other year. So university ecology is very crowded. In fact, we're culpable for designing 4, actually. The 4th one is a Turkish-Japanese university, TJU, that has been assisted by University of Tokyo and TIT in Kyoto, and the imperial, mostly imperial universities of Japan. So that was also a very exciting period. It's just finished, actually. We just finished the strategic plan for that. But this community we've set up around ARAMA, which is, we like to call it participatory management consulting, to depict the collective nature of everything that we do. I'm just showing you some pictures to connect visually to the kinds of things that we're doing. İlker and Özay will also give you some pictures. The one on the top that has Vision 2025 in it, that was some 7 years ago, shows you what we call decision conference in practice, how we set people up and how they interact with the with a screen, and there's a stage in front. The others come from what we call search conferences, which is a participatory planning methodology founded by Eric Trist and Fred Emery. This has already been introduced quite a bit by Dr. Sati. So the kind of areas where we work in can be described as you see in the slide here, ranging from participative strategic planning to innovation and collaborative solutions and so on. But there are three main concepts that is behind every work we do, is to triangulate and to blend novel ground, common ground, and what we call home ground. So we are definitely after novel visions of the kinds of problem situations or institutions, and we like to bring people together through these methodologies, actually, so that they can be aligned and can act together. We call this collective thinking, collective generation, and design, as well as collective execution. So typically when we're in an institution, for instance, we are trying to help Borusan, which is one of the leading conglomerates in Turkey, to roll into another 100 years. They've been around for about 100 years, and with 9 different industries underneath their umbrella, they want to continue into another 100 years. And in this topsy-turvy world of ours that is ruled by hyperinflation, hyper-regulation, hyper taxes, and hyper everything, competition for sure, that we call Turkey. This is remarkable for a corporation to try and work on, sustainably for its continuity. And there's these are the kinds of clients that we have. Almost always there is a home ground that we start from, and we are very respectful to their ways and means. If it's an industrialist association, or if it's a women's organization, or if it's cybersecurity cluster. I'm just trying to remember some of the institutions that we are working with right now. Turkey's trying to design a fashion council for Turkey, helping another university in Antep to develop a better positioning, and so on. So always respectful of what the home ground is, and we are very careful. In fact, sometimes we call it archaeology of the culture, the know-how, the knowledge, resident knowledge in that organization, and try to introduce enough mechanisms of innovation and novelty to also find what is unique, what can be normatively and positionally a great value proposition for the kind of institution. And because we're almost always in for at least a couple of years, sometimes 10 years, and the university I work for, I've been in now that I helped to design from scratch for about 24 years. We have done 5 rounds of these processes that we generally call action research. So, just to give you some image of action research and operations research, and these are the kinds of worlds we're in and the toolkits that we have in order to formulate problems, in order to mobilize the folks in a ubiquitous and a crisscross manner. So we are everywhere in the Turkish business and industrial environments, educational and governmental settings, always underlining what we call developing micro-democratization in a way that, advertisers would say below the line. So we don't work above the line in terms of representative democracy circles, but below the line, working with participatory democracy and ways of bringing that and nurturing that. For that, we need to sustain a process with different participatory conferences. And I'll show you just one robust bundling that we've been using. And then I will finish my introduction to our plenary, to our panel. And we almost always are in a transformation or another. Those of you familiar with action research, its normative stand is to bring about the desirable future for all, not just for the ruling, not just for the top management, but certainly with the stakeholders and with all the constituents of the organizations at stake. For this, we have a PhD program, actually, as well as a master's program that we launched this year, where we have about 40 scholars and practitioners all around the world. So it's a very animated program. Of course, our way of developing knowledge is iterative and collective. So if we were to look at just one robust bundle, just to give you an idea of how we're bundling action research and operations research, so to speak, and I'm using those terms broadly. You folks are much more familiar with what has become of operations research, decision sciences, and the like. And of course, I've shifted more into the 30 different varieties of action research, although my primary footing is with the socio-technical design school of Fred Emery and Eric Trist. So if we look at this just gives you how to bundle. We start off with a search conference in general, because this helps us to collectively design what is desirable for the stakeholders who we've been able to bring into a 2.5-day workshop. This is quite possible in Turkey, which is what sets us really apart. We work with shareholders, government ministers, and top-level executives. It's not a problem to bring these people together in a weekend. If there is any knowledge advantage that we have in our top levels, this is the one that is very, very important, because working with Fiat Italy or Norsk Hydro Norway or some retail chains in Russia and the like in our neighborhood, this is the fundamental carving of time Of course, a lot of things have changed during the pandemic, but many European leaders will never work in the weekend. So maybe this is, Yoshi might tell us this is very different in Japan, which is an area I've just started to mingle with. And of course, the collective ethics of Japanese people and managers are renowned. So these kinds of methodologies perhaps have made their way into the organizations much more than we have been able to do in Turkey. Decision conference is what Özay is going to zero in, and that's where we use AHP, and we have either in a bundle or independently used AHP, if I'm not mistaken, around 150 some times in many different settings, including working with Galatasaray. For those of you who are in vogue with the soccer world, that is one of the top soccer teams, football teams in Turkey. So since we are in a few hours, actually in an hour and a half, hopefully going to watch the World Cup final. I don't know if you guys knew that you were going to clash in terms of the time zone, global time zone with the World Cup. It's quite a feat for you to compete with. But in any case, coming back to this, we develop strategies in the search conference. We prioritize those strategies in a decision conference, and then we get folks to work on them for 3 to 6 months and bring them into something that's called a commitment conference. This threesome, like the stations of a train going from one location to another, and it's been very, very helpful working at the industry or the national level. Also corporate level, but when it's a diffuse system with many stakeholders who stand not in a hierarchical way to each other, this is have proven to be very useful. I have more, but I think in all fairness to time and to the organizers and to my dear colleague Özaydın, I should stop here and pass the buck to him. Thank you for listening to me.